Yes, it's Luke Blues talking. We're back with you again to keep you updated on all things Stranraer FC. I'm Lawrence Nelson. There are four of us on tonight. I'm joined by George Frank, Cameron Ritchie, and Brian Martin. No particular order other than that's the order I'm seeing you guys on my screen. So, no offence, Brian, but you were bottom of the charts there. So, in this edition, we'll be looking back at a home league draw against Clyde, 1-all at the Ecogen Stadium at Stair Park on Saturday. We'll also look back on a 4-1 thumping of Rangers under 19 side in the Challenge Cup. I still, for the life of me, can't remember what the name of the cup is. I've no doubt one of you guys can remind me. We will be hearing at some point from Corey O'Donnell, who we spoke to post-match on Saturday after he bagged his first goal in a Stranraer shirt, not knowing that by the time we played it to you, he would have bagged the second one. Evening, guys. Cameron,
Evening.
let's start. Let's do it in order. Let's go back to Clyde at home on Saturday and leave the euphoria of the Challenge Cup for a little bit later on in the proceedings. So we did get our first league point on the board. I guess we should start with a positive.
I think so. I think so. Kind of building from the game previous at East Kilbride that I thought we looked quite decent. We created plenty of openings. I think I said to yourself and Brian at half time that thank God it was more entertaining than the Edinburgh City game that had come prior to that. Yeah, I thought we created a lot more. And I think if we had just held out till half time, who knows, might have gone on to win the game. But unfortunately, that goal right on half time and back to level. Just it kind of it deflated the whole game, to be honest. I didn't think the second half really got going in the way that the first did, unfortunately.
Yeah, George, I'll ask the same question to you that Cameron put to Chris Aiken at what 5:30 on Saturday night. Was it a point gained or 2 points dropped in your opinion?
It certainly felt like 2 points dropped. We needed to get a point on the board, but at the time, I think the level of performance at times was flat. I felt like having gone ahead and also having had that chance that the goal that was ruled out for Lewis Reed, you're sort of feeling like maybe that was an opportunity missed and a team that we should be looking to pick up 3 points against.
So the story of the game, Brian, let's go back to that very point that George has introduced fairly early doors in the game. Lewis Reed had headed the ball into the net. You've had a chance to digest the highlights now for a few days. Both you and I thought it was a soft free kick the referee gave. Any movement in your view since Saturday, Brian?
No, I see you done there, Lauren, to try and be getting me into trouble with referees again. I mean, I don't know. Lewis said in his interview with Carmy it was a ridiculous decision. I mean, you'd said, Lawrence, that the ref whistled right away.
We
So
did.
we obviously we think, oh, he's definitely seen something. But when you see the replay, and I've seen it from another angle, and it's very, very soft, I mean. And as you said in the chat, the Clyde players never even put their hands. With players' reactions. Oh,
Yeah.
that was a foul on our player. Not one raised their hand. Even the guy who was supposed to have been fouled, turned round and said, "Phew, the referee got my way with that one."
Yeah.
I mean, really, I thought it was a really poor decision. And when I looked at the replay, at the start, as you say, Lawrence, the ref whistled right away. But when you see it back, I mean, it looked a right poor decision.
And you, Brian, would be consistent there. Cameron, you're arguably more, you've got a more a sensible, non-blue tinted spectacle head on than the rest of the blue specs here. What did you make of it when you looked it back?
No, it was soft.
Good.
I think in a lot of those occasions, you hear pundits saying, "Oh, if you were given a foul for every time there's wrestling in the box, you'd give 100 every game." And I think it kind of falls into that category. It feels easy at times for a referee to, if two players are wrestling with one another, you blow for the free kick to go to the team that's defending because you don't want to give a penalty that could change the game, etc.
Yeah.
I'm sure Lewis Reed was wrestling with the Clyde defender, and I'm sure the Clyde defender was wrestling with Lewis Reed. There wasn't a great deal in it, and as I say, just that kind of easy decision of no going the defensive team's favour.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Cameron. If they were probably wrestling with each other, so why should one of them then get the advantage? of a decision instead of just letting the game continue. George, first half and second half were very different on Saturday. We're no doubt going to come back to that last 2 minutes of the first half, but I think we've already said in the first 2 or 3 minutes of this, second half just kind of went flat. It was as if both teams were at 1-1, and it's like, we'll take the point now, guys.
Yeah, I think we've seen that a couple of times this season as well. You know, in the Edinburgh City game, that kind of petered out as well. And I don't know what it is. Certainly, I thought we had some good chances first half. Sal going through, great running again, and a difficult finish from the angle. Yeah, just unfortunate that we couldn't hold out until half time, as Cameron said earlier on. But another couple of points dropped, I think.
Brilliant work from Sal. I think the only thing I would say is, sorry, just checking my team lineups, Tommy Robson, I think, did well. He just did enough to force Sal wider and wider and wider. Brian, Corey O'Donnell got his first goal in a Stranraer shirt on Saturday, and there you go, big man, I think was your comment, and the ball landed at his feet. But one thing he did do, I mean, I've no doubt you'll eulogise about the whole move up the right that led up to the goal, but one thing that Corey did do was he kept calm, kept the heat.
Yeah, I think he's not a big guy that seems to get ruffled too much, Lawrence. You know, he does seem to keep his cool in these situations. Sometimes he doesn't go for him, but I think you can see, you know, he's quite a cool player, you know, quite cool, calm and collected, as I say. But, you know, it was a lovely goal, you know what I mean, and Quigg's pass. I mean, Sal did the donkey work out to Quigg, and then, you know, Quigg into Corey. And I mean, you could see it was set up for him. You know, you could see where we were sitting. You know, I mean, it was just into the bottom hand corner, and he done it lovely. You know, and you can see he is a goal scorer when he gets it right. You know, I mean, I'm quite sure we're going to see quite a lot of. Well, hopefully, going to see him scoring quite a lot this season.
George, I'll come back to you and try again with that same point. To me, the good thing for Corey in that goal was he kept the head. He could easily have lashed out at that first time, but actually I think he realised in a wee bit of time and made a clinical job of burying it.
Yeah, I think that was the beauty of it, given that he's been waiting for that chance to get his goal, that he had that time to pick his mark and finish it. Just to mention as well, Brian's favourite, I think he was instrumental in the build-up, Aaron Quigg, winning the ball and also kind of bursting down the channel to make himself available for Sal. Beautiful slide rule pass for Corey. Just a really good goal, and we've scored a couple of nice goals the past few weeks, and just hoping we get that 3 points over the line. That's the next thing.
Before we move on, let's quickly hear from Corey O'Donnell. We caught up with him briefly at full time on Saturday after his debut Stranraer goal. Corey, 1-1 home draw against Clyde, but I guess one of the big things for you was that's the duck broken for Stranraer. I guess your first goal. I mean, it's not been that long, but yeah. I'm guessing it's nice as a striker to actually get your first goal on the board.
Yeah, of course. Obviously, the first few games I would have liked a goal, so I've been dying for it. And to finally get it, it's good. Unfortunately, it wasn't in the result we wanted, but we'll take it. So, yeah.
Back to the goal though. I don't know much you remember about it, but it seemed like a lovely move up to the right.
Yeah.
And actually, yeah, you had a wee bit of time to stay calm and slot it home.
Good ball for Quiggy, and my touch wasn't as far in front as I wanted, so I had to lean back a wee bit and hit it, but luckily it's went into the corner. So
I'm guessing also as a striker, you get that goal, it must make it all the more galling when we then concede quite cheaply.
Yeah, especially just before the end of the second half, the last kick of the ball, it's hard. I thought we had a couple of chances to go in front, so it's a disappointing result, but we move. Yeah.
It's a point on the board though. So how's it been? I think that's probably your fourth game for us.
Fourth.
Thinking back, so how do you feel you're settling in?
Settling good. The boys are brilliant, and I think we'll get there. That's the first point on the board. That's the positive we can take from it, and hopefully go and get 3 next Saturday. And before that, you've got the Challenge Cup on Tuesday night. How sort of strange? I'm guessing you might have played in some of these before last season. How strange a game is it when you come up against a B team? Oh, you know, they're all really, really good, tidy players. So it's just you need to go and outrun them if you want, battle them. They're good games to play in. You know what I mean? They've got quality and stuff. So to play against that, it's always nice. And need to go there and come here and get a result. Yeah.
Stirling Albion away next Saturday. I'm not saying it's more important because you want to win every game, I'm guessing, but important to now start getting the points on the board.
Yeah, of course, that's what I was saying. That's the first point on the board, and then we look forward to get a win next week, and that's 4 out of 6. So it's not too bad a week if we can get that result, obviously. So yeah. And whereabouts are you based, Corey? Where do I stay?
Yeah.
Knightswood.
Knightswood. So is how's the travelling been? Because that's always something that gets talked about. Players coming to Stranraer. It's a long journey.
It's all right. It's not a bad drive. We get the coach up, so it's not too bad. The drive's all right. So I'm not too fussed. So settling in quite well. First goal on the board. So all good. Ready to power ahead now. Ready to keep getting more. Yeah. Brilliant. Thanks very much, Corey. Perfect. Thank you. Cheers. Corey O'Donnell there. Cameron, I was slagging Brian Martin on Saturday for once. He didn't make Aaron Quigg man of the match. He chose Lewis Reid. I'd been asked to nominate a man of the match by the club, and this time I chose Aaron Quigg. But actually, on the basis of fair chunks of that game, there were quite a number of players you could have chosen from on Saturday.
I think so. We've already said the first half, I thought we were really good. Even when Clyde did get chances, they had one early doors where I think it was Taylor Sutherland went round the keeper, and Scott Ruff got back to make the clearance. I think Aaron Quigg did that kind of what Scott Robertson was doing lately at Stranraer in terms of just protecting the back four, making himself available, kind of cleaning up anything that got between the midfield and the attack. And then, yeah, as you say, it was his pressure that got the ball back to start that move, and then obviously the cross into the box for Corey to score. Brian, there's a big elephant in the room which we've not addressed at the moment, and that is the return of former Blue Jinky Hilton, who came back to haunt us right before half-time. Take me back to that last couple of minutes in the first half and what went wrong for us.
Well, I think, Lawrence, once Equaliser gets beat, the Hilton we're in trouble. You know, Equaliser didn't defend it properly. I didn't think he did, and he let Hilton, go inside him. And we were in trouble when that happened, And, it was very, very poor defensive. And the Aikens were going absolutely crazy. And I can see why, what I mean. And when he comes inside, he's looking for the 1-2. And although you gave Craig the man of the match, and I thought he had a fantastic game, probably that's only his fault on Saturday. He didn't react quick enough when we could see it. Hilton was looking for the 1-2, and you could see Arn jumping, with his what do you call it, shorts, because he knew, he just didn't get in quick enough. And against, I think he got a wee kind of deflection, but it was a good goal for their point of view. But we're talking about that goal changes the game. There's absolutely no doubt about it. We gain 1-0. I'm absolutely certain we win that game because they were very, very toothless in the second half, and they would have had to come out more in the second half, and we could pick them off. But that goal, I think, cost us the 3 points.
And George, we were all, I was going to say sitting, but you're of course standing behind the camera. We were all positioned within about 5 yards of each other on Saturday, but from where we were sitting, it reminded me of Aidan Gilmartin's goal against East Kilbride in the playoff. From where we were sitting, you could actually just see that opening up nicely for Jinky's shot to go in.
Yeah, you could see the angle was just perfect for him, and I think we've seen Jinky do that so many times for Stranraer, producing little bits of magic. It was, I'm not normally someone who gets too worked up when players score against us that used to play for us, but yeah, that got me on Saturday. I felt a bit like, I don't know if you watched The Simpsons, but Ralph Wiggum, when Lisa Simpson dumped him, you can see the pinpoint the moment where his heart breaks. That's how I felt Jinky Hilton scoring. But yeah, beautiful goal, and we know Jinky has that in his locker. He can do that. Lovely feet, and it's maybe a bit harsh on the likes of Quigg, and I can't remember who the defender was that Equipon that he got past. Because it was a lovely bit of skill, and you don't always see that at League Two level.
So there you go. One or two people were talking about the tannoy on Saturday, but maybe if we've got Jinky Hilton coming to Stair Park again, hopefully he doesn't score, but perhaps we need Dion Warwick, heartbreaker, coming out from the tannoy if Jinky scores. Cameron, sticking with Jinky for a minute, I thought he played really well on Saturday. capped his performance with a goal. I actually thought that he was Clyde's only threat.
I would totally agree with that. I thought he was head and shoulders, was kind of the leading light for them in an attacking sense. Just in terms of, he's one of those players, and again, you don't necessarily see it week in, week out at League Two, but one of those players that when they get on the ball, he wants to make something happen,
Aye.
something positive to happen. It isn't just a case of, I'll retain possession, or maybe I'll go a little bit forward, but then I'll cut back and pass to one of my teammates. It feels like he's kind of got one thing in mind, and that is to get towards the goal and either A, get a shot away, or B, set up a teammate.
Cameron, you like a stat, the one that I scribbled down. I hope it's accurate, but I had that Paul got 8 corners on Saturday. We didn't get any. That's a hell of a corner count. But what I would say is I don't think they did anything with any of the 8 corners.
It was funny that at half time, and I think I showed this to Brian, the stats, it was kind of like 1 goal apiece, 5 shots for Stranraer, 6 for Clyde, 4 shots on target for Stranraer, 4 on target for Clyde, fouls 2 apiece. And then it was like corners, none for Stranraer, 5 for Clyde. And it was just a total outlier of a stat that the rest of the stats kind of painted a picture of how that half had gone. And then if you had purely looked at the corners, you would have thought, oh, Clyde are battering them.
I know.
But that just wasn't the case. They had, I think it was a corner, they had one that was played in, one of their players at the back post, I can't think who it was. It looked like it was on target, but one of his teammates was good enough to block it.
Yep.
And then I think he was off balance for the follow-up. But yeah, Josh Lane wasn't overly tested from any of the corners from what I can remember.
Yeah. And Cameron, one of the things we discussed after the game, Darren Young's sending off, I think we all thought it was a talking point. I have to say I've not checked up on it since Saturday, but what I don't get is why a manager being sent off is able to move 2 rows back into the stand, whereas if Lewis Reed puts somebody into the stand and gets a red card, he has to go into the dressing room. And it just felt really odd that we've seen Dick Campbell doing it. I'm pretty sure I saw Stevie Aiken doing it as Stranraer manager, where you just go and sit in the front row and you can continue to coach. I take it nothing's come to light since Saturday that refutes what Darren Young did, basically.
No, and I personally, I don't understand the inconsistency. That you would think it would be nice and simple that whether you're player, unused substitute, physio, manager, kitman, sports scientist, any other role, if you're shown a red card, you go away into the dressing room. You would think that would be that, as opposed to, and particularly again at a kind of a lower league level, you just hop over the nearest wall and that's fine.
Yeah.
I don't really understand it, and particularly as a manager, where's the punishment other than presumably there's a financial punishment, but where's the punishment if you can then quite literally just tap your assistant on the shoulder and pass on a message? I don't really grasp that. In fact, obviously you wouldn't even need to tap your assistant on the shoulder because presumably you can still shout instructions.
I'm about 2 yards away.
Yeah, I don't understand why it isn't red card, you go away to the dressing room, and that's that.
Yeah, and I've been at Gayfield and I've seen Dick Campbell, who's on a ban, and this figure, sitting 1 row behind the dugout with a bonnet on, and everybody knows exactly who it is. Brian, you'd see the highlights, so there was no doubt what Darren Young did when we looked at the highlights. But he got the ball and then threw it away when it was a Stranraer throw-in.
I just chucked it away, but I don't think it just maybe he's sent off and that's it, Lawrence. I don't think they get a 1-match suspension, do they? Or is it depending on the severity? I think I can remember, was it Dick Campbell last season just got a warning? I think he was sent off a year bit, wasn't he?
I think they're just not brave enough with Dick Campbell. Nobody wants to give him the warning.
Yeah.
More like it. I did get by the middle of the second half, talking about highlights of Saturday, Brian, by the middle of the second half, you were wishing you were back in the Pavilion bar eating Jackie Gilchrist's 90th birthday cake.
Yeah, the second half produced 1 shot on target, or a header on target. That was Finn Etripont's header, and that was it, zilch. And I think the boys touching it earlier on, I think both teams said, right, we don't want to lose this game.
Aye.
So, we'll maybe play a game of chess and just, sit back and, don't lose the game, whatever you do. And I think it was a chance missed for Stranraer. I've got to say, because we've played 4 teams now in this league, and I've got to say, I thought Clyde were the poorest.
Yeah, yep. George, one bit of really good news on Saturday, the return of Sean Docherty, and we're going to come on to the Rangers B game, and he was obviously back in that as well. Good to see Sean back in action.
Yeah, I think Sean's a really steady performer, and we saw that last season, and he's just slotted in seamlessly. Back where he left off, hasn't missed a beat at all. Just on the Darren Young thing as well, while we're touching on it, I'm pretty sure that managers aren't supposed to do the post match interview if they're sent off, and he did Clyde's on
Right?
Saturday, so hopefully another like $5,000 fine coming their way for that.
Unless it's that they don't do it the next week when they're. I'm sure that, contradicting Brian or debating with Brian, I'm sure they do get a ban the following week if they've got a red card.
Yeah, I
And
think so.
they shouldn't be in the dugout, they shouldn't be doing media duties, they shouldn't be in the dressing room beforehand talking to players. I think all that follows. Brian, the oldie in the room here, and you'll remember this. I thought it was absolutely pleasing on Saturday to see the guy going round at halftime with the board, giving it
Yeah.
up the 50-50. It made me think of Tommy Evans doing that at Stair Park for years. And saying that, I still managed to miss what the number was, but I could see when somebody in the crowd went up to claim their money, it clearly wasn't me. So,
Lawrence, funny enough, I went to the Lanark game at the end of last season. I think I'm playing Whitlets, and the raffle, and the guy comes along with the board, and I says, that takes me back, I'll tell you, to bygone eras at Stair Park.
well, it seems to be back at Stair Park, and it was lovely to see. So, 1-1 against Clyde. If that's us done the post-mortem on that, we come on to a cheerier scoreline. George, you're going to be the man in demand here because out of the four of you were at the 4-1 victory over Rangers B or Rangers under 19. It was nice to hear David Kelly back in commentary, and it was nice to hear Alan Jenkins providing the expertise of somebody who's played. And I was interested to note that they'd once shared a bedroom in Paris, and I think personally there's obviously a lot more of a storyline to come out of that, Mr. Kelly.
Yeah.
George, tell us about Tuesday night at the EcoGen Stadium. To me, watching bits and pieces of the game today, we're recording on Wednesday night, it shouldn't have been surprising, but it was really, really clear the difference in style of play from a young team who are coached to pass the ball, pass it out from the back, pass it all the way, coming up against sort of hardened semi-professional players. It just looked quite engrossing from that point of view.
You didn't hear everything I edited out about that night in Paris. I'm sure a lot was left to the imagination. Yeah, big difference in styles. It's a bit like the old kind of boxing thing where styles make fights. Completely contrasting styles. Rangers happy to knock it about. Did very little with it. I think it's fair to say. No kind of penetration. And we were very direct, and it was effective. I lost count of the number of times that Josh Lane sent long balls up, and the Rangers defense failed to deal with it.
Yeah.
We broke through the line. I thought we started off dominant, and I in the early stages I was thinking, well, this could be a cricket score, but if anything, we got a little bit slack as the match wore on. But I think you'd bite anyone's hand off for a 4-1 win in any competition. So yeah, pleased with the result.
And of course, because of the nature of the tournament, the way it works, it's 3 points. It is a cup game, but that's us on 6 points from 2 games, and you want to avoid being in the bottom 8, I think it is, to go through to the next phase. So pretty solid start. What I did notice early on, George, and throughout the bits and pieces of the game that I was able to see, Josh Lane seemed to be having a bit of fun out on the left, and of course he created that first goal. Ryan Edgar might have got on it, didn't get on it, and Tommy Sharp was ready to hustle in at the back post and bury it.
Sharp by name, sharp by nature. I think he was first to that one. He's a confident young lad, and we saw against Ross County he's quite good at taking these chances when they come to him, and he's quite a useful impact player in that sense. Josh Lane, yeah, I think generally long ball was our game on Tuesday night, and it worked. And I don't think those cultured Premiership youngsters could deal with our League Two football. So yeah, if anything, we could have had a few more. I think if we'd started our full strength team, we probably would have run away with it. But as I say, good to get the win.
And I did laugh, Alan Jenkins, I think it was, basically saying towards the end of the first half, if we can just hold it to half time at 1-0, a bit like Brian Martin was saying on Saturday against Clyde. And up pops Jordan Stewart with a memorable strike, that felt sorry for the young Rangers keeper at that point. He couldn't do a thing about that one.
Yeah, and it was quite nice that he said Jordan Stewart isn't very attacking. And then
Exactly.
he probably hits the post and scores. But yeah. I mean, just a good evening. I think that's two really good nights we've had in the KDM Evolution Trophy, and good crowds as well. I think it was 5-5-4 or 5-4-4 for a Tuesday midweek, and there were some Rangers fans there, but a lot of local Stranraer fans out just back in the club and coming out to see a game of football on a Tuesday night.
And even that's good, Cameron, because this competition year on year is getting less renowned for crowds, shall we say?
Yeah, I think looking at the other crowds that were announced, and put it this way, you could have added a couple of them together and still wouldn't have come close to the crowd at Stair Park. Just on Jordan Stewart's goal, I'm not entirely sure if I've ever seen a player score with his knee, with his calf. And I definitely haven't seen a player score with his knee or his calf and lob the keeper with it. So it's certainly an interesting goal. I thought Stranraer looked good. I'm far from somebody who's going to stick up for the B teams, but I would like to think that sort of thing probably does the players the world of good. Can he coming up against a different style rather than playing against other B teams who are probably coached in a similar manner in terms of keeping the ball in possession, things like that, to come up against a more kind of rough and ready kind of approach, I think probably helps them. And we've seen that with youngsters that have joined us. The one that really sticks out, Craig Ross, that I imagine he's learnt a lot playing in League Two and obviously now going on to the Championship, and that kind of up and at 'em kind of approach, I guess, and the attacks that aren't going to be kind of slow and methodical and built up with 10, 12, 14 passes.
Brian, I guess one thing that I was quite chuffed with last night is that it really does give the manager a chance to completely change the team. Chris Aiken completely changed the team, and it still went well. But I'm guessing you had a wee tear in your eye last night when you saw that Darren Lang was back in the fold.
Great to see Darren back, I must admit. I think I mean, he's been out for about, is it 4 months or something like that?
Feels
So, I mean,
like
it's
that.
great to
Yeah.
see him back, and hopefully now he's got his hamstring problems behind him and he gets a wee run. I mean, right enough, Toure and O'Donnell might be hard to shift for that front too, but you can only keep working hard, and he gets involved again. I had a kind of notion he might come back for the Rangers game because it was an ideal opportunity for him, especially at 3-1 up, to come on and get a bit of fitness. But it's good to see him back. But I mean, that's because us got really four strikers now,
Yeah.
So going forward, I mean, that should really aid us. You'd think, to get goals.
Four strikers, and you've got the likes of James Dolan providing a threat from
Yeah.
midfield. Jordan Stewart showed last night what he can do, and actually, George, four different scorers. Corey got his second one last night, and then Scott Ruff pops up at the end. So nice to see the goals being shared around. I think that was what you said to Chris Aiken after full time.
Yeah, I was on interview duty by default. I was the last man there in the line. Yeah, Martin Fellas had said to me before I went in, he was like, just make sure you say that we've been working on that. And that was one off the training ground because he wants it mentioned. So fair play to them. It was a lovely move. Going back to Corey, obviously this competition is great for the likes of him, getting his confidence up, getting a goal. Darren Lang, I don't think it made the highlights, but soon after he came on, he made this kind of mazy run down the left. And I think David Kelly had said he was like dying to get his bang bang Darren Lang moment and do that on the commentary. And yeah, Darren seemed really kind of positive after the match, and I think having him to come on late in a game is going to make a difference for us. I think we've lacked that, that player who can make an impact late in a game. Sometimes when players are tiring, and you needed to take the likes of Sal off and have someone who can run at the defences. So yeah, it's good to see him back.
I think, as Brian said, George, you can see that now with the four strikers that we've got available at the moment. Obviously, got Robbie to come back at some point as well, but whichever two are on, you're now able to bring on fresh legs late in the game, and you're not pushing a midfielder forward. You're actually able to bring on another natural attacking player.
Yeah, that's it. And I think that's Darren's game. He brings that energy, and you want him fit and firing, and hopefully that's where he'll get to in the next couple of weeks.
Cameron, you mentioned that you're not by any means an apologist or an enthusiast for the B teams, and I can't be bothered with the whole idea of the B teams in the tournament. But what did particularly please me last night, let's be honest, I'd be less than human if I wasn't more keen than normal to beat a B team from Rangers or Celtic.
I think there's probably people who maybe expected Stranraer to win, but if you purely looked at the scoreline, you didn't necessarily look at the timings of the goals. If you saw it was 4-1, that might raise an eyebrow. As I say, looking at it, it looked like we were well worth our win. I've said about that kind of learning experience for the B teams in terms of coming up against different styles. But equally, obviously, nothing breeds kind of confidence quite like wins, and I'm not sure how many of the B teams are going to be picking up wins through the course of this tournament.
I guess there's enough teams going through that some of them are likely to get through, out of the fact that there are, 11 B teams in it or 12 B teams? I can't remember.
Right.
I think it's 12 this time, because usually Ross County didn't put a B team in, which left them with an odd number, but of course they're in the championship this year. Brian, does the fact that we've won 2 games in this tournament kind of raise it in our view? We were all sitting a couple of weeks ago thinking it's almost a bit of a nuisance, this tournament, but it does give the manager a chance to play different formations, try different things. And by the way, we've got a couple of wins on the board.
Yeah, and plus, we play our next game on a Saturday, Lawrence, so it's not during the week. So, Chris can play what he thinks is his best 11 because it's a Saturday, so he might go that way and say, right, get the 3 points, and that's us certain to qualify. I think 9 points will do it.
Probably,
yeah. So, but as Cosmo said, we want to be high up the table as possible. And it always gives you a chance of another 10 grand. So, we want to try and get as high up the table as possible. And if you win all your games, it's a great confidence boost, for the players, sitting on the bench.
I thought you were going to say if you win all your games, it's a great competition. And if you lose all your games, it is a nuisance. It's a rubbish cup. It's the Diddy Cup. If you're out of it, in the same way as the Celtic fans are all saying the Champions League is the Diddy Cup today. I'm guessing maybe better move swiftly on from that one. So good performance. 4 goals shared among 4 different scorers. We've now got a number of guys with on our score chart, and we've got Corey O'Donnell and Tommy Sharp on 2 each. So there's a wee bit of it's maybe not a race at this stage of the season, but there's a wee bit of hustle about trying to get yourself into the leading scorer position. Back to league business on Saturday. Excuse me. I'll move swiftly to Cameron while I just die gently in the corner here. Cameron, you gave me a fantastic stat about Stirling Albion versus Stranraer at Forthbank.
From what I can gather, and there might be matches that are not on the kind of list for whatever reason, but from looking at it, Stranraer and Stirling have never drawn 0-0 at Forthbank or Anfield in 100+ meetings.
Kiss of death now. We know what's going to happen on Saturday, Cameron.
Yeah, I would like to wholeheartedly apologise for everyone that has to suffer through 90+ dire minutes, not a shot on target, anything. If that happens, I will totally hold my hands up. I'll be here next week on the podcast, a Dunce's hat on and sitting in the corner.
We might hold you to that if it's 0-0. You shouldn't have said that now. It's like the time Brian Martin, if we finished Club 42, and I hasten to add, it wasn't the season we finished Club 42. He said he would run round Clifton Hill, or was it run round Stair Park naked if we finished below Albion Rovers or something?
He did it anyway.
He did it anyway. He just did it again, like Alan Jenkins and David Kelly. You just switched the camera off, George, did you? Preserve his modesty.
You didn't miss much, Lawrence.
Now, Joyce. Anyway, Brian, Stirling Albion away on Saturday. What is realistic. So, in my greedy mind, I'm going there looking for a win, looking for us to push on after getting a point against Clyde. Um, I want a win. Is that realistic?
Well, I think we played maybe two of our best games there last season, Lawrence. The 2-2 draw early on and the 1-1 where we should basically win 4 or 5. I'm hoping to a much better display than this time last year. This is when Aggie resigned after the Bonnyrigg game, the
Yeah.
last game in August. I'm quite sure Tiff will not resign on the matter of the result on Saturday night. But I mean, we go there. I think we go with confidence. I mean, we didn't win last Saturday, but I think the performances have been in the last 2 or 3 games. And we're almost at full fitness. I know Ronan Hughes is still to come back
Yeah.
and Robbie Foster, but apart from that, we're almost at full fitness. The squad is there. And I think Tiff said last night he's got a few problems selection wise because
Yeah.
the guys last night have gave him, he was sharp, no pun intended, but I mean they played well last night, so you don't know what he's thinking. I think Stuart might come into his thinking, because he seemed to be all over the park last night. So it'd be interesting to see what team he picks.
George, we drew. We've obviously lost to East Kilbride. We drew with Clyde with the two disappointments at the start. You'd think now at this stage the players now have a better idea of what sort of level of performance is required in League Two to win a game.
Yeah, I think so. It's a tricky one because I think Stirling will be up there. So I think we've got a tough test on Saturday. I think we need that 3 points to get our league season going. But then you also look back at the last 4 games and putting competitions aside, we've got 2 wins, a draw, and a defeat, which is pretty good form. So I think the confidence levels will be up, and I think that's one of the good things about having these midweek games is both times they've given us a bit of confidence and momentum going into the next game, and I think we're all feeling a bit more optimistic about Saturday's game than we would have done if it was just the Clyde game into the Stirling Albion game. But yeah, Stirling are no mugs, and they gave East Kilbride a good run for their money on Saturday, so it's going to be another tough one.
Yeah, Cameron, like ourselves, Stirling have had a mixed bag of results. Looking back at their fixtures that they've had so far, they beat Edinburgh City right back at the start of the season.
They've won fewer games than us.
They have. Their only other win was against Hibernian B last night, but what they have done is they've won one in the league.
Mhm.
Won one in the league, which puts them on 4 points, whereas we're on 1. So you're right, they've won fewer than us, but crucially they got that win over Edinburgh City. Edinburgh City now seem to be unable to lose games since they got the 15 points docked. So and just in passing, just to say that has been upheld, so the 15-point deduction stands, although they already made great inroads into that.
Not a tactic I would recommend, though.
No, not particular. Let's not go and get 15 points deducted to kickstart our season. Aye, Stirling Albion last season, Cameron, it was a strange one. So Brian, particularly, and Brian and I in general, were getting criticised for having to go to Stirling Albion, but I think we were probably lashing out because we were actually so disappointed in our results against Stirling Albion, because I thought they looked eminently beatable last season and we only managed it once.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That we mentioned in terms of there was the cup game at the start of the season where we played well, somehow found ourselves 2 down, and then obviously got it back to a draw basically before losing the penalty shootout. For what I remember, their win down at Stair Park, I don't think we were particularly great in that one.
We were
And
horrible.
then the draw at Forthbank, we were good. I think we scored late on, and they scored even later on. We then were worthy winners at Stair Park, and then the last towards the end of the season, I thought we were quite good. We were quite good. Led at half time through Elliot Dunlop's goal, and then I think it went 1-1. I think Sam Kane dropped a free kick into the box, if I'm remembering the order of the goals right.
Yep, that's the one.
And it was like somebody had just pulled the plug on us, that we just we never looked really like getting back in front. I think their second goal, Lewis Reed kind of stumbled as he controlled it in the box.
Yeah.
And then the third one, it was a poor clearance from Sam Kane again, and they won 3-1. And again, it sounds churlish if you were to say, oh, if you take the mistakes out of the performance, we would have won 1-0. But yeah, I thought we were really good in the first half, and then just generosity overcame us, and we gifted them 3 goals, unfortunately. And yeah, when you look at it like that, again, I'd said about if you looked purely at the score against Rangers B, you would have thought, oh, Stranraer, that's more than comfortable, and you're ignoring the fact it was 2 relatively late goals. If you looked at the results that Stirling got against us last year, and then heard a Stranraer fan saying, don't think there were any great shakes, you would think, well, I'm sorry, but they had the upper hand on you for most of the season. So, yeah, uh, again, I didn't think that they were streets ahead of us, but equally and most importantly, they found a way to pick up the results, and it's a points business at the end of the day.
Brian, was that? I was tempted to say it sounds more like sour grapes, Cameron, which is a phrase Brian used on here a couple of weeks ago. Brian, I think that to me was my frustration last season. I'm kind of letting the team off the hook with the last 4 or 5 games, Edinburgh City apart, because I think we all knew hand in heart we were safe by that point. And the play, you can't kid players on. They know there's nothing to play for at the very end of the season. But what frustrated me was our inability to claw back Stirling Albion and Spartans last season, neither of whom I thought were that great compared with us.
I think, Lawrence, if I can remember rightly, we were only 4 points behind Stirling, and if we won and they get beat, I think it's something like that, we're only going to be a point or
Yeah.
even levelling points, and then they just seem to go right away for us, and we had a right bad run towards the end of the season, and it ended up quite a lot of points between us and Stirling. And I'm quite sure I'll get criticised and pie and bovel this week again by a certain pundit and pie and bovel if I come away with some things against Stirling. But I just called it as I see it, and I still think Stirling weren't very good last season.
Well, time will tell what they're like this season, because of course we're talking about what happened last time out. George, you saw both Saturday's game and Tuesday's game. Um, if you were Chris Aiken, I'm going to put you in the spot here. How many of Tuesday's team would you put into Saturday's team, or would you not change anything? Genuinely, what do you think the manager will be thinking about the formation for Saturday?
I think you could look at it and go, yeah, Tuesday night we got a win and we changed the team considerably, but we also came into the game more in the second half when we made some changes and restored Corey O'Donnell, and so I think he'll probably keep the team largely the same, maybe with a couple of tweaks. Trying to think who I would change.
Does Lewis Reed come back in?
I think Lewis Reed comes back in. I don't think BJ Cole did anything wrong, but I think you want that consistency in the
And
stability.
does Sean come in from the start? He only came on as a sub against Clyde, but he started last night.
Yeah,
It's genuinely food for thought, George.
I think again Evan Dunn hasn't done an awful lot wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe you bring Sean Doherty in. I thought Evan Dunn did fine on Tuesday night as well. It's good for him to have a bit of a selection headache for Saturday. But yeah, we'll wait and see.
Cameron, is that actually how we stumbled upon the obvious benefit of the Challenge Cup games, that you've got a squad of 22 and the Challenge Cup games actually enable the manager to keep more of the squad happy by giving them games?
I think so, and obviously we've seen in terms of Darren last night, James Dolan earlier as well. In terms of any player, Sean Doherty as well, any player that has missed games, it gives that chance to kind of get minutes in their legs, get them that wee bit fitter, that wee bit sharper, and then they become a genuine option for the league games. As you say, it's a difficult one for Chris come Saturday as to what team he puts out. But equally, it's pleasing that those that are on the bench, I'm sure, will take it in the kind of right manner of there's probably a good chance I'm going to get on at some point.
Aye.
I've already impressed on Tuesday. I'm probably knocking at that door. If I come on and again impress, could be in the team for the following weekend.
Yeah, and that's something we've actually said since not long after Chris Aiken came in, that he genuinely kept telling us it's not an 11 men outfit. You know, he needs 18, 19, 20 players, and actually genuinely Chris Aiken gives all these additional players their opportunity when either he needs to or it suits the game or he's needing a change. Brian, we historically, back in It's No Easy days, always put you on the spot and asked you to predict what the team would be for Saturday. So I'm not going to go away from that. What do you think? What do you think for
I
Stirling
thanks,
Albion
Lawrence.
away?
Yeah, I was saying Jordan Stewart earlier on, but of course that might you might need to drop quick for that. So I wouldn't drop quick. I think he'll stick to the same team as Doherty might come in. I think the back four, he likes that back four. Either BG Cole or Hector Point left back. And, I think the three again. Mark Russell was quite quiet on Saturday, but he always seems to play well against Stirling, especially up there. So he'll be in the team as captain. So he'll be. I think the 4-3-3 suits as well, and I think he'll start with that again. I don't think he'll as I say, Doherty might come in for Dunn. As George says, he's done nothing wrong, the big fella, but I think he likes Doherty at right back. I mean, when was the last time we seen? Is it how many allowed in the bench? Lawrence, is it nine?
Yeah, and we're pretty much there. But
when was the last time we seen that? Everybody's fit and healthy. Come the weekend, it'll be. I mean, it'll be 20, won't there?
it could well be 9 on the bench on Saturday. I think we had 8 against.
It was 8 last night, yeah.
Yeah, and 8 last night, so it could
There's,
well
there's
be.
one for you, Carmy. When was the last time we had 20 fit and available?
I don't know if we ever will have. Maybe a pre-season friendly when you've got trialists. I don't know. Maybe Robbo and Gal's testimonial. Genuinely don't know. So Stirling Albion away at Forthbank on Saturday. No midweek game the following week because the Challenge Cup game up at Kelty. Now there's a turnaround. You're going from Rangers B to Kelty Hearts League One away from home the following Saturday. George, sponsorship. Come on, give us a wee update about all these additional sponsorship opportunities or sponsorship deals that have been agreed the last few days. We had the substitution one and the goal scorer one.
Yeah, I've got to give Jed Molyneux his due now because Jed is the man who goes about talking to people and putting the phone calls in and harassing local businesses and doing some great work out there. And yeah, we've got Juicen now as the substitute sponsor and Southwest Property Centre as our goal scorer sponsor. So both of those are read out in the stadium. We give them a little shout on the highlights here and there, and obviously the social media mentions as well. But absolutely brilliant to have more businesses on board, and long may it continue. And the more the merrier, as far as we're concerned. And there's other opportunities on the website if anyone wants to have a look and get involved while we're plugging it.
It's a shame Brian's come back, so I was going to do my suggestion from Saturday that those long thin poles that we've got with lights at the top of them, you could actually get wording down those if we could get Brian persuaded to shin up the floodlights and like maybe Luke Blues talking, on the poles or somebody else.
Just while we're plugging things as well, the home, away, and third kits are all now available on the website, so they're selling well.
Yeah, I believe the red ones were on sale at Stair Park on Tuesday night. Is that right, George?
Yeah, they're looking good as well. So get shopping.
Genuinely, this season, Cameron feels like all these sponsorship deals, opportunities, whatever you want to call them, not quite off the wall because they're not as bad as that, but we're generally going into new ground that we've never covered before, and it makes me sit here thinking, what else could we do? The sky's the limit almost for not necessarily in terms of money, sadly, but in terms of different things you can do.
I think kind of twofold that obviously there is the financial aspect, which has got to be good for the club, but also just the building links within the communities and the more people that are involved, the better, and just that greater interest in the club from within the town and the surrounding area. Yeah, well, let's see how crazy we can get, I suppose, in terms of what we can get the sponsors for. Who knows? Who knows what we might be talking about next week?
What's the hardest one been, George? Has it been persuading Josh Lane to catch the fish supper?
That was
catch
fun.
of the day with the Central Cafe.
Yeah, it's one of those one. I think there's still a few things that could be sponsored and a few big hitters, if you will. So there's the highlights. We've been looking for the past couple of months for someone to pick up title sponsorship of the highlights. Your name will be at the start of the highlights package every week. Stranraer FC Live sponsored by yada yada. And this podcast, while we're on it, if anyone wants to put their name to us lot gibbering on every
genuinely
week.
The highlights every week, they're in 4 figures. Let's talk it up. What's the average now? Because I see the highlights 2,000 or 3,000 sometimes.
Yeah, I think it's about 1.5 to 3, 4, 5 some weeks. So
yeah. And of course, Brian Martin and myself, sponsored by Bully Zero, who do a lot of very good work in Australia, of all places. So we're attracting sponsorship from far and wide. We mentioned in passing Edinburgh City's 15-point deduction has been upheld by the SPFL. I can't say I was greatly shocked. I think to overturn something like that, whatever your opinion on the initial sanction was, you're going to have to, Cameron, come up with something that's been totally missed the first time around, or basically prove that they're not doing things right. And I think that was always pretty unlikely.
Yeah, I think we said when the announcement was made, in terms of, I've got every sympathy in the world for Edinburgh City fans, and
Aye.
I wouldn't have wanted it for Stranraer, and I would have been hoping, whether it's by a miracle or anything else, that any appeal was successful. But it did feel like it was going to be an uphill battle to see it overturned. Yeah, as I say, every sympathy for Edinburgh City fans in that respect.
And to be fair to them, Mr. McIndoe seems to have got them firing on all cylinders, so we can't rely on them being stuck at the bottom of the table. Brian, are you for Stirling on Saturday? Have you found a
yes,
sort of roundabout to navigate round on your way to Forthbank?
I'll be there, Lawrence. Looking forward to it. A good performance for the Blues, hopefully.
And George, we believe we have well, not a new cameraman on Saturday, because James Verity's been doing good work for some weeks now as a second cameraman, but he's going to be trying his hand at filming the highlights on Saturday.
Yeah, James is getting upgraded to the, I don't even want to say upgraded, but yeah, he's getting put on the main camera on Saturday. I'm going to be keeping my little one busy, so I'll be kind of wandering about. We'll still have the behind the goals cameras. I might be able to put the drone up if she lets me. And yeah, James is going to have a go on the main camera, and I think he's really looking forward to it. And it's yeah, testament to the good work he's done so far, that he's that we're in safe hands with James.
Absolutely. It's just this vision of James being upgraded. It's like Monopoly on the front of the Monopoly board, the guy with the cigar and the dollar bills. So James is in the money on Saturday. So let's hope we are in the points on Saturday. Stranraer at Forthbank on Saturday. Thanks as always for watching Luke Blues Talking.
Just one last thing to add, just to answer Brian, to put his mind at ease. November 2nd, 2024, away to Elgin, we had 9 subs.
Right, there you go. Supposed to go, aye.
That was quick. And what was the score?
I think we got beat. We got beat 1-0. Jack Murray scored. Russell Dingwall was sent off for them early in the second half.
I remember that dive well. Yeah, it makes no difference. Let's just go back to 2 subs, the days of Jim Hopkins and Hugh Hay. Let's go back there.